IVC.
And of you just like I'm somebody else.
Just spinning the great late John Martin and Sunday's Child, an album I picked up at the Glastonbury Festival. Absolutely fabulous copy. It's not an original release, it's second reissue on the newer Island record label, one with the dark blue on one side and the light blue on the other. So 70s, but late 70s, and that album came out in 72, I think. 74. Great find, very pleased with that. Add to my John Martin collection. Also at Glastonbury I picked up a few more albums, which I couldn't resist. They weren't cheap, but you don't often see them. These are on Polydor. This is King Crimson Islands. Lovely copy, very clean. Be pleased to have that. I also picked up a really good copy, also on Polydor. King Crimson, Starless and Bible Black, gatefold sleeve. Superb lineup. David Cross violin and viola and keyboards. It's the only change on this one. Elsewhere it's Robert Fripp, obviously, John Wetton and Bill Bruford, and it's on the UK Polydor label. So very pleased to have those two to add to my King Crimson collection. Quite hard to find King Crimson, certainly in good condition. So I had those in my tent for the whole of Glastonbury, and it got quite hot. I was really worried that they'd warp, but they didn't. So very pleased. And also, finally at Glastonbury, I got this one, Nick Drake Second Grace. It's on a white label. It was quite expensive, and I've seen it since online on Discogs for more than I paid for it. It was still in shrink. It's not a great recording, but it's got early home demos of things like Fly from Brighter Later, Hazy Jane instrumental version, and some sort of early stuff that didn't make it to vinyl. So quite pleased to have that. Okay, on to some new vinyl that I picked up recently. We all know this one on the YouTube vinyl community, Tomorrow's Harvest by Boards of Canada. Superb double album, really happy to have this. Went to my local record store, he had one copy left. He's just sold out. I think he had 10 copies and he sold every one of them, so very pleased to get hold of that. It's got a download card as well, which I've used, so I've got that on my in my car as well, on the phone. Absolutely fantastic album. Very pleased to have that one. I'll be giving that another spin later. Can't put it down really. And also another album I've shown on the VC. It's a band called Public Service Broadcasting, and not well known in the States. This album's called InformEducate Entertain. And basically it's fairly ambient. It's got some great guitar work on it, but it uses a lot of samples from movies. Movies such as, let's have a look, what are they from? It tells you on here what they're from. Let's give you an example. Track Spitfire contains samples from The First of the Few. There's some samples from Late Night Final. Oh no, Late Night Final includes What a Life, and it's just really well done. Really great album. 180 gram. It's released on their own label. It's a private release. Green and red on that side. And the label is Test Card Recordings. Now I think it's a limited release on vinyl, although it's not a numbered release, so I don't know how many they released. I was told it was 1,000, but not sure. But very pleased to have it. It's a great album. If you spot it, do pick it up. Do support these bands who bring out vinyl. Got some new American imports actually yesterday, all around the £10 mark from a record store in Bristol, which is near me, Bristol in the UK, that is, called Rise, and a couple of Can albums, Out of Reach, according to Wikipedia, not a very popular album, but I love it. 180 gram audiophile pressing. The nicest thing you can do to your sights and sounds, do for your stylus and your ears. It's a great album. Really pleased to have that. And also Can. So on these two, it's got Michael Caroli, Ermin Schmidt, Roscoe G, Yaki Libizit, and Reebok Kwaku Bar. And I think it sort of says editing Holger Schutzke. So basically, he's not doing a lot on there. It's not the original Can, of course. Picked up this Bronsbury Road tape 68 Giles and Fripp. I haven't spun this yet, but I saw it. I've got this on CD, so I really like it. Pre-King Crimson, taken from the miles of Bronsbury Road tape, recorded in '68 with Ian MacDonald and ex-Fairport Convention singer Judy Dybel. It's overdubbed on a Revox tape deck. It tells you how they did it there, and that's on Vinyl Levers label. It's 180 gram, really nice quality pressing. Very pleased to have that one. Also picked up the Pink Fairies, Kings of Oblivion. And this is on Polydor. Don't know much about this release actually. It's certainly not the original '73 release. I believe it's a reissue on Polydor from the States, but it doesn't sort of give you any information. Interestingly enough, Kings of Oblivion is a line from the Bewley Brothers track from Hunky Dory, and it actually says special thanks to the Bewley Brothers on the back of this. It's a great album, sort of psycho rock. And then I wasn't going to buy any more, and then I saw this, On the Shore by Trees, the single album version, which I've been looking for some time. I've got the double version with extended tracks and stuff on it on CD, but I'm not keen on these extended versions. I just like the original album as is, you know. And this is a music on vinyl. It's a great quality release. Hypnosis cover, one of the very first ones, and by Storm Thorgerson. So, you know, great. 1970. It's such a great album. This, I think this release was done in 2011, but it's so good. 6-minute version of Polly on the Shore. Sally Free and Easy 10-minute version on this is absolutely amazing. I mean, it's like Fairport on speed. It's just brilliant. Then I was on Amazon, and I found a copy of Tales of Topographic Oceans by Yes, which is in my pile here. Really nice version, and it was only 13 quid. This is not the new Rhino release, which is £30. The printing of the sleeve is really sort of pixelated, but apart from that, it's authentic in every way. It's an Atlantic Records release. It's got the vanity labels, and I just love this album. And I spun this yesterday, and it's really good, really nice pressing, very quiet. Really pleased with that. So that was a great find for £13. I might still get the Rhino release if it comes down a bit in price. And while I was buying that, one of the Amazon recommendations that popped up was this for £10, T.REX, the Slider. It's such a great album. I remember buying this when it first came out. This is the 40th anniversary edition, remastered 180 on Demon Records. This has got Metal Guru on it, Spaceball, Ricochet. It's also got Telegram Sam. And picture on the sleeve is by Ringo Starr, but it's on Edsel label instead of EMI. But it's pretty authentic the way they've done it. You see the label on the EMI version. It used to say EMI up there in white. This has got Edsel written on it, but everything else is authentic. And it's such a heavy album. If you're not into Bolan or T.REX but like sort of pretty heavy music, just listen to this. It really is a great album. I couldn't recommend it enough. I know it's glam rock, but the guitar work on this by Bolan on his Les Paul is just stunning. It's such a good album. Can't recommend it highly enough. And on Amazon it's cheap at the moment. Okay, so my local record store. Went down there the other day, picked up a few low-priced albums that I needed for my collection. Had them before, got rid of them, so now I'm sort of repopulating my album collection. So the classic Jackson Browne For Every Man. This is a 75 release, so it's an original on Asylum. It's just such a good album. Obviously it's got Take It Easy on that one and For Every Man. Great album. And I found two Neil Young albums that not many people like, but I love them. First one, Landing on Water. This was released on Geffen, and it was at the time where I think Neil Young had fallen out with Geffen, and everyone thought he'd just put this out quickly to get over his contract. I know that David Geffen at the time sued Neil Young because he wasn't releasing Neil Young commercial hits, you know, in the Neil Young acoustic vein, which is what Geffen had signed him up to do. But he later apologised many years later to Neil Young because he realised, you know, Neil Young's an artist and he wanted to get into synthesizers and a different sort of genre of music, and that's what he did on this. But it's a great album. It's got Hippie Dream on it, Pressure, Weight of the World. It really is worth a listen. And I only ever had this on CD, and it was lousy. Really, it wasn't a very good master. And on vinyl, it's such a good album. It's completely different on vinyl. And also the Return of Crazy Horse on this Reactor album, which is great. It's what can I say about this? It's just a good straight-ahead rock album, and that's a nice original from '83. So pleased to pick that up for £5. And then I spotted a grail for me. I've got Fire and Water that I managed to find, free Heartbreaker. My local record store had 2 copies of this, both originals, both on the Pink Rim Island label, and it's as clean as anything. I had a look at both of them. This is the cleaner of the 2, but the other one was still clean, and they were £7, I think. So for an original free, such a good album, this one. It's got Wishing Well on it, Heartbreaker of course. It's got Tetsu and Rabbit and Kirk and Rogers on this one. Andy Fraser had left the band by the time this came out, but you know, Wishing Well was their biggest hit, and I think it broke the States. So, very important album for Paul Rogers, who plays a lot of piano on here as well. Great album. I love The Church. I've been listening to some of The Church that people have been playing on the VC. I don't think they brought out a Duff track. Why they weren't more popular, I don't know. But the good thing is that, well, the bad thing is, because they weren't popular, you don't see many of their albums about. Good thing is, when you find one, they're usually in great condition. So this is a compilation. I just picked it up. It's called The Church Conception. And there's not a Duff track on here. Produced by Bob Clearmountain. It's just a great album. So When You're Mine, Chrome Injury, Different Man, To Be In Your Eyes, Is This Where You Live, The Unguarded Moment, Just For You, Memories in Future Tense, Almost With You, and You Took. So very pleased to get that. It's my first Church on vinyl. If I can find any more, I'll just snap them up as I find them. Another controversial album when it came out. Controversial in as much as it was just a breakaway from Elvis Costello's genre of sort of power pop. Almost Blue, for me, a classic. It's got the classic lineup, Pete Thomas drums, Bruce Thomas bass, and Steve Naive on piano. It's got some great Nashville session musicians on here, John McPhee and Tommy Miller. I think it was recorded in recorded in CBS Studio at Nashville. I love it. It's got a warning on here that says this album contains country and western music and may produce radical reaction in narrow-minded people. So I think Elvis did a lot for the country and western and Nashville scene over in the UK by releasing that album. And of course, it's got "Good Year for the Roses" on it, which is a fantastic single. Also picked up cheap copy of Lindsey Buckingham's Go Insane. It's mint copy. Look, used to be £2.99 and I paid £6 for it. Terrible. So I paid double for this over the original price. But they're hard to find, these, and once again they weren't very popular in the UK. Lindsey's solo stuff was a bit overindulgent, but I still love it. I'll show you the inner sleeve. It's got his great hair on there. Look at that. Very 80s. And this is on one of my least favourite labels, the Blue Mercury, which so many of the early Rush are on as well, which is a shame. But it's not a bad pressing, and it's a great album. He was going through turmoil, cocaine. He'd broken up from his then long-term girlfriend, not Stevie Nicks, and there's a lot of sort of heartache in this, but it's a good album. Okay, I went to Glastonbury Festival this year, as you on VC Facebook will know, and saw one of the best concerts I've ever seen, which was basically 2.5 hours of the Rolling Stones, and that prompted me to go out and find some Stones. I haven't got many on vinyl, and so I picked up the two of my favourites. These are originals, Black and Blue, which is such a great album. It's got Fool to Cry on this, but Hey Negrita, it's a real bluesy, hard album, this. Early one for Ronnie Wood. I think it's the first Ronnie Wood that he's on, Stones album that Ronnie Wood's on. He looks like a young Bono there. And gatefold sleeve, really good condition, this. Inner lyric sheet, which looks like the mixing desk. Oh, can't get there. Looks like the mixing desk track sheets. In fact, it is. Very familiar with those. And it's on the Rolling Stones label, but a vanity version of that. And it's such a good album. If you buy one Stones album, I personally would recommend that, or Sticky Fingers, or XR Main Street. It's got to be one of those. This sort of period Stones, for me, the Mick Taylor, early Ronnie Wood, is the best, in my humble opinion. And the other one, obviously, had to get this, Goat's Head Soup. Weird cover, but such a good album. Once again, this is Mick Taylor on here, who was at Glastonbury. He's the only one who's not really skinny. It's probably because he's left the Stones. But I got the inner with that. It's got so who's on this? Billy Preston, Nicky Hopkins, Ian Stewart, Horns, Bobby Keys, Jim Horn, Chuck Finley. You probably all pretty familiar with this. It's got Dancing with Mr. D on here, which they did. It's got Angie. They didn't do Angie live at Glastonbury, but it's an original on the original Rolling Stones label. These are nice. They're really heavyweight pressings. I think they were Philips, just with the Stones label. So really good quality, and it still plays pretty good. It's a bit crackly in part, but this album's really old. So what do you expect? But a great find. Also picked up a couple of Tom Petty to complete my Tom Petty collection, which is nowhere near complete. He released so many albums. So these two are not their most popular. This is Long After Dark. I love this album. It's a bit 80s. This was 82, Backstreet Records. No real big hits on here, but still a good album. For anyone else, it'd be a great, solid album. And I'm very pleased to get that. And then one that I really have never had. I had it on CD just to complete my CD collection, but never really got into it. But on vinyl, it's just a different album. And this is Let Me Up, I've Had Enough. I don't know about you in the States, but in the UK, this wasn't a big album. 87. yeah, I love it. It's on MCA, but it's a sort of what I'd call a lazy album. You know, band doing really well, loads of money, just released that. This is an album that I picked up, knew nothing about this band, Ultra Vivid Scene, Joy 1967 to 90. Was a bit nervous about buying it because I thought it was only cheap, but I thought, what is this, you know? And it's on 4AD, which is why I picked it up, and I thought it's worth a risk. And this one, you know, the sleeve's immaculate. It's got the original poster inside. It's got the inner with the artwork, and it's on the classic 4AD label, which I'll just show you. This is a vanity label, but it's a 4AD. And I thought, I had a look at the vinyl. It looked great. Looks clean. But when you play it, it sounds like it's been played on an old ceramic stylus deck at some point, and it's just carved away the vinyl. So it's, last time I played it, I was so annoyed with the crackling I couldn't really listen to it. It sounds great, and it's a real shame, but I'll give it another spin. I might try and clean it. So if anyone's got any ideas how I might clean that, I don't think it's going to make a great deal of difference. Okay, on to a new release. Dream Theater, 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence, released on vinyl for the first time, 180 gram. Picked this up, saw it on the Facebook. Somebody had put a link to this at Amazon saying, you know, it's been released, go get it. And I couldn't resist it. It's my favourite Dream Theater album. And this is music on vinyl, 2 album release, 180 gram. Just a great album, and it's got in a lyric sheet, so very pleased with that. And to accompany that, I picked up The Story of Light, which is Steve Vai's new double. That's on Rough Trade label, which is interesting. It's got a nice inner booklet, and I've always loved Steve Vai, but everything I bought from him is on CD, so to have some vinyl is really nice. So I thought I'd treat myself to this. It's got a nice glossy inner with some great posy pictures and all the lyrics, which I haven't sat and read, but I've listened to the album a few times. It does play at 45, and when I first put this on, it doesn't tell you that. And when I first put it on, I played it at 33 and it sounded okay, although the Chinese woman's voice, or Japanese woman's voice, was a bit weird, but soon realised it was the wrong speed, and subsequently played it, and it's a great album. Takes a bit of listening to, but it's a good one just to sit and play all 4 sides one after the other. I'm very pleased with that. I like the Rough Trade label as well. One of my favourite albums of all time. I actually bid for this on eBay because it's the EMI extended release, which I haven't got. I haven't even got the original with this cover on. I've got the reissue, so I really must pick that up because it's pretty easy to find, although I haven't found one lately. But this has got additional lyrics on it and some extra tracks: Conversation Piece, Memory of a Free Festival, Parts 1 and Part 2, and there's a slightly different ordering of tracks on here, and it's on the EMI label. This is the time when Bowie signed to EMI for 80 million, was it? And all his releases were re-released on EMI with extended tracks, and this is the only one I've got of that that set. I've got a few of the CDs, but not the vinyl, which is a real shame. But couldn't resist that. Paid quite a pretty penny for that one. And then finally, just to wrap up, sorry this has gone on for a long time, there's a lot to show you here. 2 albums that were recorded when I used to work at Trident Studios in London, in Soho. The first one is Phil Collins's side project called Brand X. This is the album called Product, which was recorded at the Farm, which is the Genesis Farm studio. And then they came into Trident to overdub and remix and remaster the album. And there's a track on here called Soho, which was written by Goodsell and Collins, and Collins sings on it. And at the very end, if you've got this, you'll hear sounds of the Soho streets. Well, that was me. I had to dangle a Newman mic out the window for 5 minutes and record the sound of Soho. This isn't an original release, this is on the Blue Charisma label, but you know, really nice clean copy and so many memories for me. This album's got Phil Collins, John Goodsall, Mike Clark, John Giblin, Rob Lumley, who produced this. He's Joanna Lumley's cousin, Percy Jones, Peter Robinson and Maurice Pert. Fabulous, fabulous collective there, and I saw that live, got tickets to go and see them at the Marquee as they were at the studio. Marquee Club was next door. We popped over to see them. It was a great gig, unannounced, but it was heaving. Very pleased with that. And then an overindulgent album that was done at the time I was at Trident over a few months, and it's Dave Greenslade, Peter Woodruff book with Dave Greenslade, music inspired by the book. Great artwork by Woodruff, beautiful package, double album, and this has got most amazing artwork and story by Woodruff. Let's look at some of the quality of that. And this is a mint copy. At the time, at the studio, we used to get all the albums that were recorded there. They used to get sent to us, and you could sort of dip in and take them. This one never came because it was too expensive. You know, I can't remember how much it was at the time, but it was a very expensive album. And it's got a really nice vanity label, the Pentatouch. I actually quite like it. It's very overindulgent, but obviously for me it's got a lot of memories. And Phil Collins plays some of the drums on it. And at the time when he came into the studio, he was very down because his wife, he'd been away on tour with Genesis, and his wife had gone off with the Decorate. And he'd often in between sessions sit at the famous Steinway piano in Trident and play his melancholy songs, which would end up on Face Value. So quite an important time, and I was part of that. So very pleased to have that, and very pleased to have been part of it. So there we go. Over and out. See you next time.